More bonus content. So the topic of today's short talk is that there are only really two ways to build a team, and those two ways are from the top down or bottom up. Top down does not mean forwards to defenders, and bottom up does not mean defenders to attackers. So I'm going to take us through here, and I will not be giving my answer here. This is an answer agnostic thing. So the timer has begun. So the reason is that the facts are there are only really two ways that you can build a roster. The truth is you can build, and I'm literally just going to take you through two ways here. So the first and the more uncommon route is you build through having middling to good players, and you build that stack up, and you sprinkle in that stardust at the top, at the absolute upper echelons. A good example for this in football would be what Arsenal are in theory trying to do if they were to sign an actual top level forward. They signed all these players, these structural pieces to give them stability, then you throw an extra piece on top of it which can make you an absolute all-world contender. Unless Victor Gyökeres was their idea at that, which I really don't think he was. The other and similar approach to this in basketball would probably be the LA Clippers in 2019-20, where they had a bunch of, decent role players. They had Patrick Beverley, they had Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell. They added a few other guys, but those were the real spine pieces of it. Did they have Zubats then? Yes, they added Zubats. And then you sprinkle in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George on top. And that, in theory, is supposed to... And that made them the NBA title favorites. Now, the thing that you might see here is that they didn't win any championships, but this isn't about that. These are just the two examples which come to me off the top of my head. I don't have any notes for this, like in the longer form ones. Whereas in American football, a good example would be Big Ben Roethlisberger being added to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2004, where they won a bunch of games and they added him on top, and then they won a bunch of games that way. Another example could be Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs won a bunch of games before they added him and made him the starter, and then he took them up another level. So there we've got examples of teams winning titles that way. And the other route is top down. So you build with the absolute best players you can possibly get your hands on first, and you figure out the rest later. And examples of that would be, so if we want to use in football terms, we can go to Barcelona with the MSN trio. A better example, because obviously their midfield wasn't in great condition. They had Piqué there, but it wasn't elite. But, you have Messi there, and then you add in Suarez and Neymar, so that's one option. Other options in football, we can have a PSG in 17-18, when they added Neymar and Mbappe, and they figured out, we'll figure out the rest later. It'll be fine. Another example could be United in 14-15, when they added Falcao and Di Maria to a squad which already had some forwards in the form of Rooney and Van Persie, and they neglected the defence and they started Paddy McNair. They didn't win anything, obviously. If we go to the NBA, you have examples both good and bad. So the best example, obviously, is you pick your LeBron James team of the last 20 years, because that's time. So you went to the Heat, where you had LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and you had nothing else underneath, and they really struggled in that first year to really fit things together, and then the playoff run happened, but then they did win titles. Lakers, they get LeBron, they add in AD on top, and they just say, we'll figure out the rest later. Back at the Cavs, LeBron says that, listen, Kyrie alone is not enough, let's trade Wiggins, let's get Kevin Love in the team, and then we can make a proper run. Then they add, and even then, right, they had to fill in the pieces with, that was sort of like a haphazard thing, especially up until later in year one when they added J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, as well as a few other pieces. Obviously, Dellavedova, I think he was already there, but the point is that is another way to do it. And then in the NFL, you don't really have that top-down thing, because obviously the best quarterbacks don't really leave. I'm struggling to think of one off the top of my head. Like, the closest you probably get is Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and because offensively they would just stink so badly. And the NFL, American football is just in general a bit of unique examples. It was harder to use one. But irrespective, football, basketball, those two examples apply. So from there, you can take your pick. Which one do you think is best? Do you think it's better to build from top down, or do you think it's better to build from the bottom up? Which do you think gives you a better chance at long-term, stable success? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I will make more of these for you, because these little thought pieces are good fun. This went far over the 3-minute limit as opposed to normal, but I will try and keep it to below that. I won't answer that. Maybe I will make a second part of this to answer which one I believe is the best, but that might even be a longer form one. So I'll talk to you again soon. Bye bye.